Yo, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Ben Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers all over the world, especially a lot of the Eritrean and Ethiopian fathers, worldwide, man. We appreciate all the sacrifice and everything that you all done for us. And if you guys check out my community posts, you guys probably will learn a little bit something about myself that I don't regularly talk about here on YouTube. But to the subject at hand here, I am going to talk about here in this video today how would Michael Jordan struggle in today's modern NBA. Now, I want to make this very, very clear. This is not about to disrespect Michael Jordan or things of that sort, because I'm getting tired of JDRs making these assumptions that, oh, you just with Michael Jordan, man. You just a LeBron turd, man. You just don't know nothing about basketball, man. I hear this, rhetoric all the time, and it just drives me absolutely nuts. So let me make this very, very clear. I am a Jordan fan. He is my favorite basketball player. But as you guys know on this channel, I always make honest observations and honest scouting reports on how I see today's basketball and how I see, players from the past and to now. Now, I want to make this very, very clear. Michael Jordan is one of the greatest players in NBA history. I have him in my top 5. I have him at least at number 2 or at number 1 between him and LeBron James. Now, I'm going to discuss my top 5 on another video later on this week. But the things that I need you guys to listen to is, as great as Michael Jordan was as a basketball player, in particular in his prime during the late 80s and throughout the 90s, there are a lot of things about the modern NBA today that he would have a hard time adjusting to. Now, as I was doing this video today, I did some research and just, scoped around Google, scoped around various, sources of information that I trust and to figure out what would be the problems of Michael Jordan if he had to play in today's modern NBA. Now, there are several factors that I want people to understand. I want to keep this to 5 simple points, okay? And maybe a 6, but I'm just going to stick it to 5. Number 1, 3-point shooting. Now, we know that Michael Jordan was an efficient shooter. The problem was that Michael Jordan, for his career, was not an excellent 3-point shooter. I mean, just go look up his time with the 3-point contest. I mean, Michael Jordan, as great of a shooter as he was not the most proficient 3-point shooter of his time. So when you look at Michael Jordan's career, especially when it comes to 3-point shooting, as I'm going to pull those stats up real quick, he was not the most accurate. He was not the most, proficient 3-point shooter because he didn't take a lot of threes. Because he said it himself, he doesn't take a lot of threes because he feels in his mind it will throw off his game. Now, back in the 90s, there wasn't a lot of 3-point shooting or a lot of 3-point shooters that he could contend with because a lot of the game was relied on mid-range, posting up, and a lot of isolation basketball. Now, for his career, when it comes to 3-point shooting, in terms of his percentages, throughout his 15-year career, he shot 32% from 3-point range. And he only took at least 1.5 attempts from 3-point range throughout his career. Not the greatest percentage, to be honest with you, if you really think about it. Now, in today's NBA, he would have to improve it dramatically. He would have to be more of a 35 to 40% shooter at best, because in today's NBA, a lot of players today emphasize the 3-point line much more. It has become the norm in today's NBA. If you can't shoot the 3, especially for a 2 guard, there's a good chance that you're not going to have opportunities to play on the floor. That's the first point. Now, the second point is the pace of today's NBA. The modern NBA today, as you see it now, is much more faster, with more emphasis on transition offense and less reliant on slow pace isolation plays. Now, I want to make a very good example out of this. Now, the illegal defense back in the 80s and throughout the 90s and the early 2000s was favored towards isolation players like Michael Jordan, which meant that you could not play zone defenses in today's NBA because you were not allowed to basically zone up against a dominant offensive player off the ball. So, in a sense, you were only able to play just regular man-to-man type of defense, and sometimes you had to trap when the guy had the ball in his hands. And that would force the defense to shift a lot, and you would get stuck in defensive rotations And literally, it would give opportunities for isolation players to work one-on-one and basically work against a double team. But in today's NBA, where you can basically zone up a lot more, this forces a lot of the isolation players like Jordan to pretty much figure out how I can attack against the zone. And the zone defenses are one of Michael Jordan's great weaknesses because he does not like facing against zone defenses. Now, his ability to adapt to this faster pace and increased need to defend on the perimeter would have to be a key factor into trying to transition in today's basketball. Now, remember, in the modern NBA today, there are a lot of players right now that can shoot, that can basically defend all three perimeter positions, and more importantly, they're much more faster, and more importantly, they can speed the game up a lot more as it was back in the 90s. Now, the third point, and it ties into the legal defensive rules, is the defensive adjustments. The rules had changed dramatically with less tolerance on hand checking and more emphasis on perimeter defenses. Even though Jordan was known as a very top-notch defender, he would have to go against other guys that can basically break him off the dribble a lot more, that can basically play make a lot better, and more importantly, a lot more shooting. That means he would have to play much more perimeter defense than he used to do back in the 90s. More importantly, no more illegal defensive guideline rules. Therefore, you would have to figure out a way to score against zone defenses. Now, on the flip side, Michael Jordan could also play, some good defensive too. He just was not be able to hand check as much. And more importantly, hand checking is a foul. Get that through your heads, Jordan fans, JDRs. Hand checking is still a foul. And more importantly, you wouldn't be able to hand check a lot more. You would have to rely more on good footwork and solid fundamentals. Now, every time I hear people say, bring back hand checking, I ask people all the time, if you try to hand check another player, especially a D2 college basketball player, he would take your hand check and break your freaking ankles with it. Seriously, dead ass. And you wouldn't be able to get away with that in today's NBA either, because a lot of guys like the Steph Currys, the Shays, the Ant-Mans, and even Kyrie Irving, they could basically take your hand check and basically break your freaking ankles and make you look bad. Pretty much hand checking has become very much ineffective. So that would be the other point. Now the fourth point is also the physical conditioning. The modern NBA today, as we see it now, tends to be more of guys that needs to be more of the peak condition type players where they can play much more increased pace and frequent of games, which means sometimes you would have to play games 3 or 4 times a week. And more importantly, you would have to put more emphasis on conditioning rather than just pure strength in of itself. Now, Jordan's legendary work ethic would basically likely help him to adapt. I'm not saying that it wouldn't. It would. But he would have to make necessary adjustments to his training and recovery to handle the rigors of the modern game. Now, the fifth point, which is the most important one of all, is the role players. The modern NBA today, as you see it now, relies on versatile players that can shoot, pass, and defend multiple positions. Now, if you would have to build a team around Michael Jordan, he would still be the focal point. It's just that his team would have to fit complementary players that can fit not just the modern style, but also his style. But also, Jordan would have to adapt to the modern NBA too. He wouldn't be able to post up as much as he wanted to and take a lot of mid-range jumpers. He would have to adapt his game to the three-point line. And based on his career statistics from the three-point line, it doesn't look that promising. But it doesn't mean he can't adapt to it. The way I see Michael Jordan today is he would be a classic two guard that relies more on isolation and post-ups a lot more. And he would have to learn how to play off screens a lot more and learn how to shoot the three more effectively. He would have to learn those kind of things. Can he do it? He sure can, but it would take a long time for him to adjust to that. So when I hear people say, oh, he would average 60 points a game in today's NBA, I would say sure he would. And I say that sarcastically. No, he would not average 60 points a game in today's modern NBA. He would average at least 28 and maybe 26 at best, because there are a lot of guys today that could defend him much more efficiently, and because of the fact that there's a lot more advanced scouting, even more now, they would do a better job of figuring out what his main weaknesses is, especially when it comes down to forcing him to take tougher shots in the paint, more importantly, double team him every time when he gets a ball in his hands. Double team the particular areas on the floor that he loves to score on the most, and more importantly, make him work off of those screens and make his life difficult on the defensive end. Wear him down. A lot of those things I can tell you right now would make things a lot more difficult for Michael Jordan. But it doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to dominate, because at the end of the day, he's still an all-time great player. All-time great players are able to adapt to the style of play and figure things out. But I'm just saying, if LeBron James has had to adjust his game over time since 2003 up to now to the modern NBA, Michael can do the same. It's just that it would take a lot more time for him to figure it out. So I broke it down very carefully. He would have to basically shoot more threes because due to the emphasis of three-point shooting, adapt to the faster pace, adjust to the new defensive guidelines, improve his physical conditioning more to the modern NBA, and also fit modern role players that could basically defend, shoot, and also play make in multiple positions that could help Michael Jordan contribute to the way he wants to play. So that's just my breakdown. So I know there's going to be a lot of people that have their own breakdown. All I ask is watch the games and, more importantly, study it more efficiently. Don't just watch highlight reels or nostalgic clips, because what you're doing is you're basically doing yourself a disservice when you basically do that instead of watching the games and scouting them much more effectively. And learn the strengths and weaknesses of every player. Do that. Study more. Use your mind. Use the information that's available to you to look at how things are in today's modern NBA in comparison to what it was back then. But later on this week, I'm going to explain to you guys my criteria of my top 5 greatest players of all time and why do I have them on this particular list. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for more NBA Finals videos that I'm going to have later on this week. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.